Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you guys for joining me again. My name is Wilkie and I'm here with another Lost Ark Collectibles guide. Today's topic is going to be about Seekers, Marks, or Ignea tokens, or Mark of Ignea, whatever you want to call them. So let's dive right into that. The first thing that I want to show you in this case is actually how to obtain them, because this is both probably the easiest and also the hardest way in combination. So what I just did is press the button N on your keyboard to open the adventure book. Every continent in the game, so if you start in the world map, you have Artemis, Eudia, West Lutrin, blah 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 blah, has an adventure book or a collectibles atlas. If there are any other names, then I'm not familiar with them, linked to it. For example, you have Artemis here, then Eudia, West Lutrin, East Lutrin, then Tortoik. And I'm currently in Papua New Guinea, which I will take as an example to show you how this works. Because clearing the adventure book to 100%, or like completely clearing it, will reward you with the Seeker's Mark of the corresponding continent. So for example, I am 2.9% away to get my first Seeker's Mark, and you're actually going to be the witness to me getting my first Seeker's Mark, because I don't have a single Seeker's Mark here yet. Because like I said, this is, even though it's the most straightforward answer you can give, is just do the adventure book. The adventure book consists of a lot of things, so I'll quickly break them down for, especially for newer people. So, opening the adventure book with, and you start off with the top section here, which is the collectible section. Now these are obtained just by killing random mobs. Typically, most farm routes try to incorporate a lot of elites because they apparently have a better drop rate. In my personal example though, I never really farmed any of those. I got all of these collectibles doing dailies, doing weeklies, doing storyline quests, waiting for a world boss, collecting, or doing life skills, and I got attacked by mobs. So this is how I got them. Also, foods require you to kill a lot of mobs, so typically those two are at least somewhat linked together. Once you obtain those, all you're going to do is, once you have that in your inventory, you just right click it, and we're just going to right click that, and you will see that this one here will then pop up. And I actually need 5 more of those. So I either need to farm those, or the other option to do this is to go to the auction house, adventure book. We're just going to sort this because I suppose this is a bit more expensive. There we go. We're just going to do this for the sake of research. This is 780 gold, but for the sake of clearing this, finally, we got this. Now we're gonna open the adventure book again. See, the percentages goes up. And boom, with this click, it should shoot 200%. And there we go. I finally cleared my first adventure book, and I got my first Seeker's Mark. So this is how collectibles work. Foods, on the other hand, are a bit more, how should I say this, sophisticated to do. You either need to kill mobs, collect certain things, buy certain things from traveling merchants. This one is incredibly, buying food of the traveling merchant is the single-handed reason why this is a lot of nuisance for a lot of people, especially on an existing server where not everybody is looking for those traveling merchants. So how this works is typically you either collect the fresh material or sometimes even the finished product. I will show you how one of the recipes works. For example, if you see the steamed purple crab requires you to have live purple crabs, this one here is a world boss drop from King Moak. So as you can see, even if you were to press down hard, some of these things are not to be obtained in a single day, because you have dependencies on a world boss which doesn't spawn every day, sometimes spawns, sometimes islands. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into the foods, and I highly recommend this. But if you ever plan on clearing or looking to clear those things, do plan in some time, because this is definitely an endurance task and not something you'll be doing early on. Viewpoints, these are fairly simple. I will show you what a viewpoint looks like. For all of these, there are guides that exist with maps and everything, and I will put links into the descriptions in the description below of websites that you can use in order to help you navigate those, because doing those without a guide is an even more time-consuming task, which I'm sure not everybody is willing to shell out. Where are we going? There we go. Down here is one of these things. So this is a viewpoint. As you can see, spyglass. You click on that, you have a little bar loading up, and then you're gonna be viewing whatever area you're in a viewpoint. That's basically it. You can just escape out of this. Since I already did this, this would have checked any of this. The dungeon section is something a lot of people don't know. There's, depending on the continent, there might be even more. I think most of them actually have 2 dungeons. You have to clear the dungeon in normal mode and in hard mode. So even if you clear it on hard mode, you still have to go back and at least once clear it in normal mode, which is fine for the most part. Running dungeons in normal mode is recommended during leveling. And then once you go back to do the storyline quests, sometimes you may have to re-enter the dungeon for another collectible. So don't sweat this. But for example, this is Aurea's Heart and the Waters dungeon. So if you look here, this is Aurea's Heart. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the Waters of Nashka dungeon. You can see, just clear the dungeon once on normal, once on hard mode, and you get this. World boss, in this case, it's King Moak, and on other continents, it may actually be a field boss. Field bosses spawn between 30 and 50 minutes. World bosses, depending on the quality and the tier, either have a fixed time as well, or are spawning through a calendar. So if we take a look here, field boss King Moak has a set date. Be spawning in what's that, 3 days from now. So you can see that some of these things are definitely not to be done whenever you just want to do it, but it requires you to be there at a specific time and day. Main quests, that's fairly simple. You just got to do the main quest. Now monsters, this one is fairly, how should I say this, fairly straightforward. In fact, I don't really fully know if I can find any of these by any quick chance, but we're gonna teleport to the place where I think we're gonna have some. So let's load this in. What we're looking for is a monster with a, how should I say this? We actually don't have any here. Secret Forest we do. So what we're looking for is a monster with a sign above the head. You probably witnessed those thousands and thousands of times while doing your standard leveling process, but you never really paid attention to it. So let's hope the mob is around. There we go. This is the icon you're looking for. This little, no one is like this little mask thingy. This is what indicates that it's a mob. Since I already killed those, like I said, there's nothing here. All you gotta do is kill that mob, and you got the next entry to your adventures book. Fairly straightforward. Outside of that, we only have 2 more things. I'm gonna TP back to town to show you how the rest of the things work. Outside of that, you have another story, which is basically another quest line. Then you have a hidden story, which it's not really as hidden, especially if you're using guides, but again, I will post the link in the description, which I highly recommend using, because otherwise the adventures book is gonna be a massive pain in the ass, and we'll skim over this after this. So the last 2 things are actually the teleportation platforms. This one's fairly straightforward. Whenever you see this, go over it. And the last thing is called Affinity. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Affinity, I'm not sure if I think I did an Affinity guide already, but Affinity is basically talking to an NPC on a regular basis, or if you don't want to talk or can't talk to them anymore, you can give them gifts. For example, you can give them stuff like these, a cocktail, goblin sweet potatoes, and certain NPCs favor certain gifts. This is an incredibly huge aspect of the game, and it's also a very big endurance task. This is absolutely not something you're going to be doing in 1 day or 2 days. Some of these NPCs actually require 60 or even more days of consistent taken care of if you don't include the items. So that should give you a rough idea of why this is such an endurance task, and why actually collecting so many of those secret marks is definitely not something that you should be looking to do in a week or 2. But keep that on your check. If you do like completions, or if you do want to complete most of these things, then make sure that you actually put this on your list, do this as a daily task, and take care of that. So this is basically how the adventure book works and how to get the secret mark. Now, since we now, or at least you hopefully know how to get these secret marks, we're actually going to take a look at why you should actually go through these lengths of tasks and bother with it, or if you even should bother with it. Because for certain people, this may be something that they don't like doing, or if it's too much. So, looking at the NPC, this NPC is located in every town. I now got a new mount, a white beetle. The second reward for 2 marks is an iron pan. Outside of one island, I don't know if there's any use for this other than being a gimmick item. This is the Aura Light of Tricion. That is just a consumable, or rather a fashion item. Vitalium increases vitality by 50 points, so that's more HP. Rune Solemn. This is a cleanse rune, or so-called cleanse rune, so this is a fairly decent reward, which some classes will use quite often. This can replace the need of certain classes with a purge skill, or if you don't like using panaceas, this on a low cooldown skill can replace that. Jinjo Wei, this is a legendary card that you may or may not using, then you have 50 off your primary stat, which is raw damage. Powerful Skill Potion, this is probably the most important reward alongside of the Wanderer's Key. The Wanderer's Key unlocks another slot here, which means more teleportation slots for you. Really, really good. Really, I think up until this point, this is the most important thing. Or if you really want specific card sets, the Delianamon card as well. Outside of that, the title, I mean, that's some wisdom that you get. You have a monument for your estate. You have a golden horse. You probably have seen people running around with this. And then you have a background. We currently can't obtain this because the Southburn book requires us to kill Biakis. And we don't have Biakis yet on the Russian server. So for completionists, this is something they can't really do. And as you can see, I really don't care about them at all. But like I said, I think those rewards are pretty powerful. The cards can be useful, and the rune, especially if you use it or like using it, is definitely worthwhile. But yeah, so without further ado, let's jump into the website that I would highly recommend you using when doing those adventure books. So the website that I would highly suggest you using is the lostark.invent.co.kr website. In or on this website, click on the continent on the map. I'm using Google Chrome to translate this, which I also highly recommend unless you're able to go read Korean, then obviously do that. And now you'll be presented with a little new subsite, which allows you to do a lot of the things that we're looking here. So for example, you can select the continent. So let's say we're in Papua New Guinea, and in Papua New Guinea we want the Nia village. And now I have a bunch of things listed here. So for example, let's see, I want the viewpoints. I just disable everything that you need. And you can see, okay, this is where I have to go and this is where I have to go. Let's take a look at another map here. This is the map that we just went in to clear the mobs. So let's disable everything again. And now let's see, I want those monster locations. So you can see this is how I would personally go about to do this. Especially since a lot of these things are not very well indicated or hard to come by. So to me personally, if you ever look to do 100% completion, unless you want to do all the research yourself, I highly suggest go to the website that I just linked. Click on the link there. I will put the link to that specific website here as well. So I'm just going to be posting this one here in the description of this video so you can check this out. And that is all I can tell you guys about the Seeker's Mark. I personally think if you really push hardcore, then this one here. But since for me this is the Russian server and the temporary one, I never really bothered with this. On the European server, at least for myself, I will definitely try and clear out most, if not all of these, so that I would get that extra skill point and the extra Wanderer's Key at least, and potentially even the card as well. Thank you everybody for joining this far. I do hope this was helpful as usual. If you want to see me live, then I do stream on Twitch. Feel free to check out the link in the description below. It's typically on Mondays and some other days, which I'm currently trying to make a schedule for. Outside of that, if you have any questions, if there's anything that's unclear, feel free to shoot me a message either in the comment section, on Discord, on Twitch, on Twitter, on any social media that you can find in the description below. Last but not least, I do hope this was helpful, and I wish you guys a lovely day. Do stay safe, do stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.
You want me to take you back?